So I want to share certain concepts of Niddah that many might not be familiar with in terms of Harchakot or Harchakos, which is basically social distancing when a woman has her periods. The purpose of those Harchakos distancing during that time of the month is really to re-examine the relationship and the sensitivity that one has for each other, for the men as much as for the woman. So some of them I already spoke in the past, but not everybody is familiar with it. So we know that there are different laws that when a woman has her periods, a man and woman cannot eat from the same plate. Today, most people don't eat from the same plate, but we're not supposed to eat from the same plate, meaning it has to do with and some cup also, and we cannot finish each other's rests, and so it's all connected with eating. We're supposed to put a heker, recognizable object that this is a specific time of when she has her periods, and a reminder while we eat. Very strange why the eating is such a big thing. Then there's the beds. Men and women have two separate beds, two separate bed frames, two different mattresses, and cannot sleep in the same bed. Also, one is not the men and women are not supposed to touch during that time. Not only touch, but even passing something to each other directly, one cannot. Then one is not supposed to go on trips, love trips. Obviously, you can go on business trips, but we're not supposed to go on trips together during that time. Obviously, it's inappropriate. And so that's this one. And then the next one is that one should not listen to one's wife singing during that time. So on the outside, it might look like a little bit crazy, right? Hey, it's 2021, 21st century, 22nd century, 21st century, sorry. So what is it about? Everything that the rabbis pushed us to do is directly connected to Torah, and the rabbis wanted, based on the mitzvah to love one another and to as a husband and wife, create reminders and a system to work on ourselves so that our marriage, our relationship, intimate relationship, stays powerful, loving, and becomes passionate. They're all tools and exercises to be done. And we know Jews have kept those for 3,000 years, and they are being very successful in them. But not everybody has used them in the proper way. Like many of the commandments, it's easy to do a commandment and not change because of the commandment. The commandment is supposed to transform us and to push us to experience something new or more powerful after doing the commandments. It's supposed to bring us closer to God. So those things are also supposed to bring us closer to one's spouse, but also closer to God. So how does it work? I'll try to express some of the ideas. Obviously, there's more ideas. There's very spiritually lofty ideas, but I'm trying to speak on a more down-to-earth level for us to understand how those can help us in our marriage. So let's speak about food. So why food? One of the main moments in our day when actually men and women are together is when there is a meal. And we know when people go on a date, usually they eat or drink something together, and especially when they are home, it is family dinner or husband and wife dinner. So food is something used, the idea of eating, which on a more spiritual level, it's connected to the temple, the Beis Hamikdash, with the korbanos, which is basically food is like a big barbecue place, but to elevate the world. But the word korban comes from the root karov, to get closer. So the idea is to get closer to God. So when we eat food, it's the idea it's in order to get closer to each other. Family dinner are extremely important. Any therapist, marriage therapist, or family therapist will tell you that one best time to connect with one's spouse or with one's kids is to have dinner all together. So we have to really learn to use that specific moment for bonding. So it has to become ingrained in our mind. When we're eating food with someone, it's a bonding time. That's why we should not eat with our enemies, so to speak. Even on a spiritual level, one way to understand it is when we eat, if we don't eat, our soul leaves our body. If I don't eat for a week, I die. So eating enables my body and soul to stay connected and to become one. So what's happening is that when they both sit down to eat, they have to use that moment as bonding time. Don't lose that opportunity. Eating together can even become very romantic. It has to become something that they can both use in order to love each other more. And it starts with eating and ends up in the bedroom, so to speak, right? It's a moment of connection. It's a moment where we can speak to each other. It's a moment where we put down our cell phones. It's a moment where we shouldn't use our electronics, and we should focus on the relationships. A moment where we can share things from what happened during the day, or it's a moment where we can bond when people are angry, or they're not in a good place. Eating together is a type of healing opportunity. People feel better, in a better mood after eating, and eating together creates that bond. So when you eat with your wife, you have to remember it is an opportunity for bonding, and that's why you have some of those laws connected directly with food. There's more, but that's basic concept. Then number 2, the beds, separation of the beds. So why do we sleep in different beds? It seems very strange. The truth is, until recently, everybody slept in different beds. They will make love together in one bed, and then they will sleep in 2 different beds. It's much more comfortable, and it's much better sleep. Even according to scientists, it's better to sleep separately for better sleep. But I'm not encouraging it, but I'm saying that sleeping in 2 separate beds is for us to remind us what sleeping in the bed means with one spouse. Meaning that when I go to bed with my spouse, it is a holy place. It is a place that I need to realize is an opportunity for making love, not just a bed to sleep, not just a simple physical thing. So to be reminded, to focus, to understand that when I'm going to go back to that bed, to that place with my spouse, I have here another opportunity to bring more love, to be unified, and therefore we should not look at our bed just at some place where we sleep. In the temple, the house of God has different places, and some places are more holy than others. The holiest place of the temple was the Kodesh Kodoshim, the Holy of Holies. And in Judaism, we explain that the Holy of Holies is like the bedroom between the Jewish people and God. So that our bedroom is, right, bedroom is a room for bed, is a place of unification, of tremendous love and unity, and therefore we should always, when we go to bed with our spouse, really understand that we have to take advantage of that and use it to bring more love and more unity. We live in a generation where couples suffer a lot from a lack of love, a lot of lack of sex, a lack of unity, and they need to work on. We need to work on being more active, because there's a lot of love missing in couples, and so that can be a very strong reminder and tool to use. So that's one of the reasons why we don't sleep in the same beds, to create that awareness and reality, and make some changes about how we look at our bed and our unique moment when we sleep next to our soulmate. Next thing is touching. So touching is because it's very strange, because technically, according to pure halacha, right? Not speaking about stringencies, or someone who is shaking a hand with someone purely for business, or someone who goes to the doctor and is examined by a doctor of the opposite gender, technically there is no prohibition to touch that person, whether the patient or the many people are more stringent on that they don't do it. Even they're more stringent because they want to be extremely careful. But the idea is, if I could touch the doctor, or I shake the hand for business, the opposite gender, then how and people think that the reason we don't do that because I'm gonna touch someone's opposite gender, I'm gonna be excited. It's not necessarily true. So some people, you're not excited to touch them, but it's the idea is that your wife, when she is in Niddah, your spouse, when he's in Niddah, you're not allowed to touch, but the opposite gender you can touch, even if it's not for pleasure. It doesn't make sense. But the truth is, because it has nothing to do with that. Well, maybe a little bit, because we know that once you touch someone, it's already a step closer to anything else. But we are focusing really on the power of touch. The power of touch, which means that the focus here is to realize that each time I touch my wife's hand, or at the time she touches her husband's hand, it should feel different than anyone else. It should not be like a doctor or like a business person. Every touch between two spouses is a unique opportunity to create a bond, to get closer, to show love, to express love. I should never touch my spouse without some understanding that this is an opportunity to show my love and my respect and my care for the other, right? So during that time, we become sensitive again. We say that, oh, I've been touching my wife all this time, or my husband, and I got used to it. I don't touch my spouse with the same sensitivity and love and care. Don't get used to it. Don't lose that opportunity to that each time you touch your spouse, it should feel different than anyone else, and it's an opportunity to show love. Don't touch your spouse like you touch anyone else, obviously, but we understand what I mean. Meaning it has to be with more emotions, with awareness that it's unique touch. So that's about touching. In terms of trips, this is basically makes sense. We don't go on a trip when you cannot be together physically. It's not so appropriate, but really it's also telling us that every little trip that you can do with your spouse, take it as an opportunity to bond, right? I was speaking about love trips, obviously, but it's a reminder that trips together alone with your spouse are opportunities to bond together. Don't take anything with your spouse for granted. Everything is, it's, we created, we live because of marriage, we live because of unity, we live because of love. This is what we're created for, to learn to be one with someone else. And when we can do it with our spouse, we can do it with God. And understand that we do the same thing with God. With God, we're careful when we eat. With God, we're careful when we go to sleep, to have the right thoughts, to reconnect to God when we sleep in our beds. It's not just a bed, it's a place of reconnecting, recharging, rebond with God. We So we see that there's a parallel between our spouse and God and Hashem. Any trips that we take, it should be trips to get closer to God. Anywhere I go, it's an opportunity to know more about God and get closer to Him. Touching, well, there's no real touching God, so to speak, but in a way, anything that I touch that belongs to me. I would say, you should love your God with your whole heart, with all your soul, and with all your possession. So meaning that everything that I have, everything that I touch, everything that belongs to me should be an opportunity to, it should be used, and it be an opportunity to get closer to God and to show Him love with it. I use that. Whatever I touch, it should be a touch that is meaningful, a touch that brings more unity into the world. And I forgot to mention before about passing. You cannot just pass someone directly to your spouse. Why? Because passing is almost the same as touching. It's not the same, but almost the same. And the idea is that when you pass something, you can pass something just here, take that, or you can pass something with love. Every interaction with my spouse has to be done with thought, with awareness, with emotion. Even when I pass something to my spouse, I should do it in a way that is lovable, that makes her love me, that makes her feel love from me, that it's a special passing. I'm passing something to her. We also cannot carry something together, right? So, because everything I'm doing with my spouse has to be unique, has to be something special. That's the whole idea behind it. And same thing with God. Everything that I touch should be and use and carry my whole life. Everything that I do with my hands, everything I touch should be for the sake of creating more unity in the world, unity with God. And finally, that very strange thing about you cannot listen to your wife sing during that time. And so we're going to say people are going to be fall in love with the voice of your wife. Yeah, it's not that. It's to make us sensitive to the sound, because we say you should not listen to your wife sing. You have to learn that the voice of your wife to you has to be music in a way. So therefore you don't listen to her. The voice of your wife has to be that whenever you hear her voice, it's someone so precious talking to me. Don't listen to your voice of your wife like someone else. It's not the business woman. It's not the neighbors. It's not family. It's not the family member. It's your wife, and therefore the voice of your wife to you has to be precious. You have to love to hear the voice of your wife. Your voice of a wife has to be like a singing to your heart. And therefore, we need to understand that each time I hear my wife's voice is an opportunity to hear what she needs, to hear what she wants, to hear her emotional state. When it says about Avram that he has to listen to B'Shema B'Kol Ishtecha, that you should listen to whatever your wife says, but the voice is the sound of her voice. Try to hear what she what she's saying. Try to hear her emotional status. So that's where it be. When you hear the voice of your wife, you should be so excited. It's another opportunity to speak to her and to get closer to her and to love her. So those are, I didn't touch upon every aspect, every pieces of Harchakot, Hilchos Niddah, but the most important one, the most common one, and I really encourage everyone to see the Niddah time as that social distancing as an opportunity to get closer, right? In a way, we're going to be in different tangent. We are in a Corona time now. We have a social distancing. That social distancing has pushed people to help each other more, to care more for each other for all over the world, and to learn to care and love others and do what they need. So, and to feel when we're alone, what it feels to be alone and disconnected, and to act upon it, to help people not feel alone. So this is what the Harchakot are. Again, all those Harchakot is the same way there's Yerida Letzarech Aliyah, meaning to fall in order to go back higher up. Here is distancing for the purpose of joining. It's very logical. It makes complete sense. We know also that constant pleasure is no pleasure at all, right? Anything that if you eat chocolate and you don't stop, eventually you're gonna throw up. You have to have a pause. You can't eat all the time. You can have intimacy all the time, non-stop. It loses its greatness, it loses its beauty, it loses its power. We need distancing, reevaluate who we are, work and appreciate what it is that we had, what it is that is possible, what every connection can do, what is touching, hearing, passing, sleeping together, eating together. All those are little glue tools that we can use to truly be in love with each other. So this is what I wanted to share, and hopefully we're all going to use those tools in the way that they're meant to be used to create more love and unity in every couple. May we all be successful and fall in love and become passionate. Let's remember a final point, that God doesn't want us to be just in love with our spouse. He wants us to be crazy passionate about our spouse, right? So how are we going to do that? The world needs passion. People love songs and love movies and all that. Why? Because we inside our soul crave passion, crave unity. And we need to awaken that flaminess. It's dormant. We need to be, that's what we live for. That's what animates us the most, brings us alive. So we need to go from love to passion. Not just hi. And the only way we can do it is if we constantly reassess how we interact and touch and hear and speak to our spouse and interact with him or her. That's one. So connected to that, it's imagine that you do any of those things, being in the same bed, eating food together, touching or passing something to each other, listening to each other's voice, and going on trips. All those things are things that you shouldn't be able to resist, that you should be so passionate that those things instantly create the sparks, and you want to jump on each other out of love. Each time you eat food, it's you getting closer and you get excited about each other. Each time you're in bed with each other, there should be that spark you cannot resist. Each time you're passing or touching each other, each time you hear each other's voice, each time you go on a place together, it should be so intense that you want to have love, you want to have sex together, you want to make love, right? So the rabbis are saying that, we're going to separate you a bit during that time because you're going to jump on each other. Obviously, that's the level you should achieve. That in any of those situations, you will be jumping on each other, right? That's how crazy you're in love with each other. Unfortunately, we see that that's not the case. People eat together, they sleep in the same bed, and they touch and they hear their voice and they speak, but there's no spark, there's no emotion, there's no love, there's no passion. So Rabbi is saying something is missing from your true relationship of love. You need to reassess and reevaluate and become sensitive again to the level at which you're supposed to reach, feel, and achieve, the level at which those special moments can bring you to experience. So may we all be successful to achieve tremendous passion, and this way we'll be able to achieve passion with God as well. Yeah.